Well, hello neighbors, it's John, Whiskey Neighbor here. I haven't been around for a while, and today I thought I'd steal a page from Roy over at Aqvavitae's playbook and do a recycled review. So this will be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 whiskeys, and I better do it quick. Thanks for tuning in. So as I said, this idea is completely stolen from Roy, who is amazing at the way he does live shows and unpacks Scotch and whiskey. You got to go check him out if you've never seen him at Aqvavitae. And this is not a comedy like Scott did with Scotch Test Dummies. That is still one of my absolute favorite videos. It's simply a quick thought with finished bottles, because I've been trying to reduce my collection. So I'll start with a couple easy ones here. So some Canadians. This is Canadian Club 100% rye. It's not, it is. It is a Chairman Select 100% rye. Bottled at 40%. In Canada, you can get this often on sale for somewhere around $20. It sits somewhere between there and 25. For the start of your night, if you're looking for still pretty sweet. It's got a bit of that Canadian whiskey sweetness, but some good bite, some good pepper. And it is 100% rye. This one surprises me. Oh, I'm not going to rate the whiskeys. I'm just going to tell you whether I buy them again. I would buy this again, especially at that price. It's a good rye. I'll contrast it with another Canadian. It's Alberta Premium, also bottled at 40%, also 100% rye. And sorry, Food Quig, I know you really like this bottle. For me, this one continued all the way through to be nothing more than average. It just never lit up for me. It never really came into its own. So, there's nothing bad about it. Pretty interesting kind of vintage bottle, but I won't buy another bottle of this for a long time. I'll stick with rye, may as well. I think this is the last rye that I have. So here's Knob Creek rye. So Knob Creek, part of the Jim Beam line. It's bottled at 100 proof or 50%. Being a rye out of the States, is it a straight rye? It's a straight rye. So, bottled in charred American oak, new American oak, aged a minimum of 2 years. I'm sure this is aged longer. And with a rye in the States, it's a 51% rye. It could be more. But I did find that this one had a lot of bourbon sweetness in it. So it had some spice from rye, but really a ton of what I think of with Knob Creek, or really a caramel, toffee balance with rye. So I like this, and I would buy it again. I did like it. What's it worth in Canada? It's a little too much, around 45, I think. All right, well, let's run over to Scotland. I've got a couple of scotches. Oh, here's a good one. Balvenie Caribbean cask. Aged 14 years in ex-bourbon and then finished in new American oak casks that have been seasoned with West Indies rum. I don't know what to say. This bottle started good, really fresh, fruity. Then it kind of went away a little bit for me. It kept its vanillas. It kept a little, but then it came back and it finished well. And I can't think of a person that I have poured this for, if they like whiskey at all, like they like some Scotch or whatever, and they try this, that doesn't just enjoy this Scotch. So unfortunately, the price has really shot up. It sits between $90 and $110 now in Canada. But when it goes on sale, I will look for this, because the Balvenie Caribbean cask is a definite buy again. Staying in Scotland then, this is Jura. This is the 10-year-old. I know Jura's recently redone their lineup. I haven't tasted anything from the new lineup. Pretty popular online to beat up on Jura. This is bottled at 43%, and it didn't start super interesting, and it kept its head swimming around the average line. Will I replace it? No, I won't. Of course I won't, because I think they've dropped this one, but I'll be tasting Jura before I buy another bottle of Jura because this one never really came alive. Not replacing. Well, I guess I'm all over the place. I should have stayed in. Go back to Canada. So this, I should have done this back with the Alberta Premium rye, because this is another Alberta Premium product. This one's called Dark Horse in Canada. I think it was Dark Batch in the US. It's a 45% whiskey, but this is a strange one. It's it has like, what is it, 9% bourbon in it. Some people have said it's old granddad. And then it's got 5% sherry added in. I don't know where they get the sherry. So it really is kind of a cocktail. I think when I first reviewed it, I didn't give it much in terms of stars, but I said it's interesting, maybe pick it up. For me, it finished, like in the bottle, I mean, it started kind of interesting, and I was like, oh, this is kind of unique flavors, but the back half of the bottle just got really astringent or bitter or, I don't know, it just didn't stick with me, and I wanted to like this, and I know a lot of Canadians do. And it's on, I think I've heard they've stopped running it. It's on for like $25 now, which is a good value for a 45% whiskey. I won't be buying it again. Staying in Canada, this one came out last year. It's called 150. It's by J.P. Weiser, and it's got a unique date. So this is April 14th, 1952. And they came out and kind of said, well, they had one bottle for every week of Confederation. Bottled at 43.4%. This one is, well, I mean, if you can still get it, a great Canadian whiskey. You know, sorry, a lot of my American reviewer friends, but you often are picking up stuff that is just bottom shelf. And this is not, right? This was pretty affordable, around $60. They came out with it, they just kept aging it, I guess, and released it a year later. So the 2018 version is the same mash bill. I shouldn't say mash bill. This would be corn and rye and barley aged separate and then mixed together, married for some period of time. This is delicious whiskey. It's still quite caramel or toffee forward with vanilla from the oak. This one was probably around 16 years old. I think that the current one's around 17. I would buy it again, both because it's special, but also the juice in here was pretty good. The only Irish I'm crushing today. This is Glendalough Double Barrel, bottled at 42%. It's a pretty young whiskey. This one, you know, what does it say here? Small batches aged 3.5 years in bourbon barrels, then 6 months in Oloroso sherry. This bottle started good. I mean, it was rough. The alcohol was just right there. But the flavors were I thought, I kind of liked it. By the time I got halfway through it, actually, I liked it less. And by the time I was putting it away, it's almost, I mean, it didn't separate. That's not, what I mean is the flavors seemed to suddenly be at odds with each other. And the alcohol stayed with me the whole way through. So it started good, didn't finish well. But I would try another thing from Glendalough because they're an interesting small distillery in Ireland. Man, I can't seem to, I should have put these out in themes. I didn't. I just wanted to get it shot. It's 3 degrees, so it's warmed up. We've had snow on the ground for a while, but I want to get at it. So this is a Canadian product that's actually pretty controversial. It's Crown Royal, right? So that's out of Gimli, Manitoba. And it's called, well, this one's the Bourbon Mash. I know they've re-released it. I think it's Blender's Mash or something like that. It's only 40%. But what was different for this is, you know, they have a certain number of flavoring whiskeys and coffee rye, I think, and then sort of a bourbon style where they actually create a mash bill, high corn, and then distill and age it. And this was sort of to do a nod toward that. If you put all the controversy aside and you like sweet bourbons, this is not a bourbon. It's a Canadian whiskey. It's made in that style, so it, I don't know, it was a little more caramel, candy forward that I liked. So in the end, it was too sweet for what I normally go for, but it was actually pretty easy drinking. Will I buy it again? Nope. Bernheim Wheat Whiskey. Bernheim is aged 7 years, bottled at 45%. This is a select bottle, so it was a little bit different than their regular, but they use winter wheat. I couldn't find a mash bill on this. I like that they have the age 7. Because it is a straight whiskey, again, it's got that minimum 2 years, no flavors or colors, aged in charred New American oak. I like this one. And I don't know how it differs from the regular release, this particular select bottling for the Kensington Wine Market. But if you're looking for a very light, kind of creamy, a little bit cereal spirit, this is good. Tends to cost a little too much up here. Sits around $80 now, which is overpriced for this. So I'm not going to chase this down unless I see it on sale, but I did enjoy it. Bulleit Bourbon, bottled at 45%. Bulleit is a high rye bourbon, so mash bill in here. The rye's got to be up in the 20s. Where, I don't know. 25 probably, somewhere in there. So this is a little bit older bottle, so it probably, well, no, I know it's not out of their own distillery yet. But I liked it. And actually, whiskeys change over time, and this one stayed, like, there's bite in it. It's a bit rough up front. If you're looking for a creamier, softer bourbon, I wouldn't recommend it. But for what I like, because I really like rye, I ended up liking it a fair amount all the way through. The taste held up. It didn't fade away. And even when I was polishing the bottom off, I was like, yep, I will buy another one of that when it goes on sale. Brings me to my last bottle, which has a little bit left. And I thought, oh, well, I don't want to pull a Scott, as I said, so I'm not going to hammer on it or anything. But the end of this one. So this is Evan Williams, single barrel, 2009. So this one, barrel number 657. I think this one was young. It ended up being, it's 43.3%. Ended up being under 8 years, I think. So this one has been a roller coaster, and it's been outside here for a little while, so it's really quite cold. So it's got very little nose to speak of right now. But in general, this one also seemed like it's got to be somewhere around the 10 to 12% rye mark. So it's got enough rye to keep me interested. Quite cinnamon, quite that kind of spice. So it's not too baking spices, but or that candy coated fruits, so like a hard crack red candy apple or something like that. Loved it, didn't like it, loved it. and today, well, only because it's the only whiskey I've had today so far, it's pretty good. It's a little rough, so not as smooth as it maybe could be. But will I buy another single barrel of Evan Williams? Absolutely. I think it's a great value. There's my thoughts on a few whiskeys there. Hope you enjoyed it. Roy, hope I didn't offend you by copying a good idea, a good thought that you've done. And yeah, well, for all my friends out there in Whiskey Tube, I hope you're having a great weekend and maybe drinking something pretty cool and creative. Take care.